Okay, so here we are with my file server. Just to recap what's in it. It's got a 40 gig Intel SSD as the boot drive. And three 1 terabyte hard drives in here. I need to upgrade these to some 2 terabytes at some point because I'm running out of space on a couple of them. I hoard data. I really do. Like movies that I've made that you guys will probably never see on YouTube, a bunch of them, from even way back in the day, are on these hard drives, and they take up a lot of space, along with just backups and other data and stuff. Here's the board that's in there. It's a Gigabyte GA-D525TUD, which is an Intel Atom 525 based motherboard. It's a net top board. It's got 4 gigs of RAM in it, which is way overkill for a file server, but why not, right? Has I think is a Pioneer optical drive in the front of it here. Yeah, it does. That's a Pioneer optical drive. You guys may ask, why do I need an optical drive when I can just use USB to install Linux? Well, Debian is another story. I just prefer using a net install CD that I can just have handy. It's just much easier for me because I'm old school. I've been using optical media for so long, and I like it. I like it, thank you very much. So as you can see, there's one component missing here, the power supply. And you saw in my previous video that I got a bunch of AcBel power supplies. Well, this is the power supply that was in the file server. An Antec Basic 350 watt. I've heard mixed reviews of these. Some of them go bad, some of them don't. Mine has been extremely reliable. Has the other Antec power supply that I've had. They've both been extremely reliable. And have very, very good protection circuitry in them from what I've seen, so I'm pretty happy with them. But the problem with this is it's a very basic consumer-grade power supply. And who knows what kind of abuse it can take. I'm sure this thing will function fine, but if it takes abuse from, let's say, power outages or surges or whatever, then it may not survive. It's not a commercial grade power supply, which is what I'd prefer to have in my server. So I took one of those AcBels, stuck the bracket for my case around it, and we're going to stuff it in there. It's a just to recap. It's a 550 watt power supply. You could pause to read all this. It's a 550 watt power supply, which is probably overkill for this machine, but if I end up putting another board in it, like if I put an i3 machine in here or something as a server, if I even need that much power at some point, it'll still work fine for that. I can upgrade the board without having to worry about power overhead. I could still do that with the 350 watt, but the 550 watt makes that even more of a truth. So I'm going to stick this in here, and we're going to hook it up. Now, there are some things that are an issue with this motherboard. This motherboard is an Atom board, and it only has a 20-pin connector, but you can I can just shove this in there, and I can actually shove this in at an angle where it will go in, so I don't have to get an adapter for it. Where's the CPU connector? CPU connector doesn't separate because these old Java workstations didn't do that back then. So I didn't know if a capacitor or something would be in the way, but it turns out I can just shove that straight in there. I'll probably end up getting adapters for both this and this eventually, though. But for right now, they will work if I just shove them in there. So I'll probably just do that for now and order some adapters, get them on the way. So let's stick this power supply in. Alright, I got at least the CPU connector and the ATX connector in. As you can see, I just pretty much shoved it in there. And it fits. There's no capacitors or little transistors in the way or anything. Same with the CPU connector. So I'll get adapters for those and just keep it. I'm just going to let it run like this for a little while. I'm going to hook up the rest of these connections and then we'll be back. Alright, here we have it. We have everything plugged in. I got a Molex to SATA adapter on the SSD and this hard drive, and the built-in SATA from the power supply on these two hard drives. So everything is covered. I just need to buy some adapters and we're good to go. So I'll go plug this back in and we shall see if it works. It should, but let's find out. Alright, I got the server all plugged in. Its two cords are plugged in, the Ethernet cord and the power cord. That's all that should have to be hooked up to a server. So I still have these unplugged because of the storm. And let's plug all this in and see if it works. There it goes. And she's running. Excellent. I didn't plug in the power for the DVD drive. Whoops. I better fix that real quick, but other than that, that's her going. I'll plug in the DVD drive and then I'll be done with it. Alright, I plugged the DVD drive back in. Yeah, that's better. There we go. Okay. What's done is done. Server's upgraded to a commercial grade power supply, and I'm very happy about that. It gives me much more confidence in this thing. So, that's a good news. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys, even though, in my opinion, it was probably a little boring, but either way, have a good one, everybody. Ciao.